The first week of Operation Epic Fury reportedly cost the U.S. roughly $6 billion, with $4 billion of that going to munitions and interceptors alone. That burn rate is so alarming that the administration is privately discussing invoking the Defense Production Act to force manufacturers to accelerate weapons production. Trump publicly says that the U.S. has unlimited ammunition. Behind closed doors, his own officials are briefing Congress about stockpile concerns and emergency measures. Because, we already gave Ukraine tons of shit. For context, the entire annual U.S. military aid package to Ukraine is $3.9 billion. America just spent more than that in 7 days defending bases and shooting down Shahed drones that cost less than a used Honda Civic. Trump says this war could last months. At $6 billion, when remember before he said it was going to be like 4 weeks max. At $6 billion a week, that's $250 billion before summer. It's spring. And that doesn't account for the economic damage from $90 oil, $90 a barrel oil, and it's 111 now, Gulf shipping disruptions, and crashed Asian markets. So the Defense Production Act that he talked about, well, here's Lockheed Martin. So Pete Hegseth reposted Donald Trump, and Donald Trump said, "We just concluded a very good meeting with the largest U.S. defense manufacturers companies where we discussed production and production schedules. They have agreed to quadruple production of the exquisite class weaponry in that I got to enlarge this. Sorry. The exquisite class weaponry in that we want to reach as rapidly as possible the highest levels of quantity. Expansion began 3 months prior to the meeting, and plants and production of many of these weapons are already underway. We have a virtually unlimited supply of medium and upper medium grade munitions, which we are using as an example in Iran and recently in Venezuela. Regardless, however, I hate the way he writes. Regardless, however, that's just being a English major person. Regardless, however, we have also increased other orders at these levels. The companies represented were the CEOs of BAE Systems, BAE Systems, Boeing, Honeywell Aerospace, L3 Harris Mission Solutions, Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, and Raytheon. All the military. The meeting concluded with another meeting scheduled in 2 months. States all over the country are bidding for these new plants. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. Okay, so that's what Trump says. Pete Hegseth reposted that. Lockheed Martin reposts Pete Hegseth and says, "We have agreed to quadruple critical munitions production as a result of President real Donald Trump's leadership. We began this work months ago." Wait a minute. But we weren't at war months ago. How did you know? Hegseth and Deputy Secretary Feinberg. Okay. So if they're quadrupling their munitions production, like that's not going to roll out for, we're not going to see the benefits of that for what? At least a month, right? And why would they quadruple production just for 1 month? You'd think that it's like, okay, well, if we're going to quadruple production, we have to do it for at least a certain period of time. How long of that period of time are they going to quadruple production? If it's 6 months, a year, doesn't that suggest that this war is going to be much more long? It's going to last much longer than Trump originally said? I think Americans have a very valid concern that this war is going to last much longer than originally anticipated, especially considering that's how it always happens with recent wars like Iraq, Operation Iraqi Freedom, and Afghanistan. Okay, we're almost done here. This is all I'm going to talk about tonight. So Spencer, this guy, he's a leftist. He says, breaking, U.S. now expects Iran war to last 6 months. Everybody's telling him to shut the hell up. That's propaganda. So I asked Grok, how long is the Department of War expecting war with Iran to last? And Grok says, it's actually the Department of Defense. Didn't they rename it the Department of War? Anyway, the U.S. Department of blah, blah, blah. So, so based on recent reports amid the ongoing U.S. and Israel military operations against Iran that began on February 28th, 2026, the DoD's expectations appear to lean toward a potentially prolonged conflict. despite public statements from the Trump administration suggesting a shorter timeline. Administration officials, including President Trump, have publicly projected the war lasting around 4 to 5 weeks, with the capability to extend far longer if needed. However, internal military planning tells a different story. U.S. Central Command, which falls under the DoD, has requested additional intelligence resources to support operations for at least 100 days and potentially through September 2026. Also, the Pentagon's asking for another 50 billion or something, indicating preparations for a conflict that could last 6 months or even more from the start date. This aligns with Pentagon efforts to expand operations and report in recent analysis. Amid concerns the war could drag on due to escalation risks and unclear endgame strategies, experts have expressed criticism about the shorter estimates, warning it might evolve into a forever war, similar to the past U.S. engagements in the region. And I think that's a valid concern. So, yeah. Danger. You keep saying things that are just Gunther Engelman memes at this point. Still less than the Somalis took from Minnesota. Yeah, it looks funny joke. Haha. Funny. We're 10 days in. We're 10 days in, bro. Again, this is so nuanced with moving parts. Yeah, but I have not heard a good reason from anyone yet on why we needed to do this and how this benefits America. I've heard a bunch of people say things to defend the stance that this is beneficial for America and this is America first. None of them I agree with. China is the least of the reasons. So I did not support this before it started. I do not support it now, and I will support it less as things go on, if that's even possible, because I never supported it one iota. This is not what I voted for. And so it's funny because I'm still getting attacked on the left being called MAGA, and then I'm getting attacked by all MAGA being called the leftists, and then I'm attacked by the libertarians because I voted for Trump. So it's just a impossible stance to take right now because everyone is against me on this, even though I don't think it's that way. I think a lot of people are right there with me in everything that I'm saying right here.